Welcome to Software Leaders Uncensored with Steve Taplin. Welcome to Software Leaders Uncensored, where tech leaders drop the filters and just tell it like it is. I'm your host, Steve Taplin, a serial technology entrepreneur who's launched 30 companies, failed at 20 of those, but scaled 10 of those to success. And I turned that roller coaster of a ride into my book. It's called Fail Hard, Win Big. And this is where I teach people how to turn failure into your biggest competitive advantage and how custom software played a defining role in every win. Now I'm the CEO and founder of Sonatify Technology. We're a software engineering firm with resources both in the US and Latin America. We help scale existing engineering teams. And today I am joined by a fun guest. Get this, Jim Sullivan. He is a computer science graduate and a law school graduate. Take a top techie and a top attorney, put him in the one. He has been a tech founder. He is the founder and CEO at eDiscovery AI. This is going to be a good one. Jim, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Jim, please, if you would, what is a technologist and an attorney combined into one? Tell us about your journey and what you're doing with eDiscovery AI.
All right. Yeah, let's get into it. So, I started out, going to college, computer science, like everyone else. And after school, I realized I wasn't quite ready for a real job yet. So law school is a great way to delay the inevitable. So, 3 years of law school later, right out of school,
that's better than going to Vegas and goofing off. And
you could do both. Go to Vegas. Well, I was at law school, actually. No, after it, my first job at law school was actually document review. And this was something that I didn't know existed at the time. And if you're aware of document review, it is rough. You sit and you review documents all day, every day, clicking a button. And right off the bat, I was like, man, there's got to be a better way, right? So immediately after that, I worked at a software a vendor for the eDiscovery vendor that basically built software that automated a lot of the processes for doc review. It's called On Track, now eDiscovery. And I worked there kind of helping people use technology to classify data, using predictive coding, other machine learning techniques to basically classify data and make that classification process easier. So we didn't have to have reviewers sitting and clicking on documents one at a time forever. Optimize some of those processes. I ended up leaving the industry in 2018 thinking I was gone for good. I kind of, joked where you realize that if you leave the industry that you get nights and weekends and you can actually turn your phone off sometimes and you don't have people yelling at you, harassing you as much. And it's actually amazing. But I'm a little too crazy for that, so I had to get back into it after a short stint at building software and automations for small businesses, which is business I still have. AI technology came around, and you just saw all of these things that it could do that we've been struggling with in eDiscovery for a long time. So a lot of the problems that I'd faced in 2015 that I was working with clients through, now AI gave a really great solution for it. So jumped right back in, went to my wife and I'm like, let's go back to that crazy life where I never get to have a Thanksgiving dinner again. And she just actually said that she was surprised it took me this long to get back into it because she knew I would.
She understands you.
Yeah. She's like, I knew you were gonna, you're never gonna just be able to kick back and take it easy. Jump back in about almost 3 years ago now. And literally all we do is we just use new technology to solve the existing problems that we've had in eDiscovery for a long time. And frankly, it's amazing because now I have a lot more flexibility to build whatever crazy things I can think up. A lot more technology to help with a lot of those problems where in the past, there was just a lot of problems that we needed to throw people at and people would have to classify documents. We couldn't review things like audio files or images with technology. It had to be text-based. And now AI can do everything better than a person can. And we're now building.
Educate me here, Jim. So eDiscovery, that's an industry term, right?
That's a whole industry. That's a whole thing, right? eDiscovery is basically the process of you have a large litigation and the other side gets to request data that's relevant to your case and you have an obligation to provide that data to them. So you go back, you're a large corporation. You got to go back and you got to collect data from your employees that are related to this case. And then you have to determine what's relevant to the actual matter and turn it over to the other side. Okay. And so this is oftentimes sifting through millions of docs.
Gotcha. So at the core of it, what does eDiscovery AI do?
We use AI to solve eDiscovery problems.
And is this meant for Is this used on the transactional side of being attorney? Is this around cases and going through discovery like the name?
Right.
Where's the use case?
Mostly like the name, it's assisting with the discovery process, uncovering information in your data set, finding relevant documents, determining which docs are privileged, entering privileged entries, the traditional e-discovery processes. But we find ourselves in a lot of other cases where lawyers, law firms that we're working with say, well, can you do this other thing? Or is this other thing? Can you classify all these images? Can you do something that's not related to e-discovery, but a legal problem nonetheless? Bring us a problem, we'll figure it out.
Okay, gotcha. And so what are your thoughts, Jim, on how AI is going to evolve the legal industry?
I mean, I feel like it's going to change everything about everything. I mean, even from now, the technology is so much better than anything we've seen. So pivotal at changing, basically every process we had before, we're just kind of throwing out the window and building it again. AI is just a leap forward in technology that's bigger than anything we've ever seen. And I think it's going to completely flip the industry on its head. I mean, 40 some thousand people in America are doc reviewers that sit and classify documents for a job. And we're at a point where computers can classify data significantly better than a person can. And there's just no real reason to have a person click through and read documents manually anymore. And that's going to be a significant change to every part of the industry.
And so what accuracy rate has in the e-discovery industry are you seeing as realistic? Where do you need humans in the loop first? Where don't you?
I will tell you that we have done dozens of tests with clients because no one's going to just trust us, right? We have to verify that this is working. And we've done dozens of tests where we compared a human review team versus AI classifications. And the human review team has never come close. It's never been a tie. It's never been near. It's always significantly better with AI. What we're seeing, generally, we're calculating a recall and precision based on the data that's retrieved. And we're seeing, recall and precision around 90%, where humans are more 70% on a good day, maybe 80% if they're all awake at the same time. But for the most part, we're seeing a really, really significant difference in quality that the AI is winning every single time.
Are people trying to, from an e-discovery perspective, purposely kind of have blurry documents or PDFs or files that might make it harder for, AI type recognition to identify it? What are you seeing challenges there?
Well, that's what used to be the case, right? In 2015, we're using technology to classify data in a similar way, but you can't review images, you can't read blurry text, you can't read handwriting, you can't read scans that are old, and now AI can do that too. So we're actually seeing the use of AI on those blurry scans, on the handwritten text, on data that traditionally was not readable by a machine. And AI's beating humans at that by a significant margin as well. So that used to be a huge limitation. 10 years ago, viewing foreign language was a nightmare. Reviewing documents that didn't have text was a nightmare. Reviewing certain file types like spreadsheets was a nightmare. There was a number of difficult use cases that we faced, and just AI is good at all.
Well, tell us about your software engineering team and how you lead your team, the work model you guys do, how you go about it.
Right. We have, and fortunately, because I worked in the industry for so long, I had a lot of contacts and I knew a lot of people that were working in the industry and a lot of people that were really good. So we have a team of people that have all been in the industry for a long time that I'd experienced working with in the past. So it's a lot easier when you can kind of handpick people that you've already worked with and you know what they're good at and what they can do. So we've had that advantage kind of taking off. As we're getting a little bigger, that's becoming less of a reality, and we're hiring more outside. But to start, we have a really great team, a lot of people local here in Minnesota. I think we're up to probably a development team of 8 to 10 people now, and they're just all incredible. But we're learning as you grow bigger, you start facing new obstacles that you didn't face before and on new challenges, especially with scaling and things like that we are starting to see and working through.
Now, are you guys in office, hybrid, remote?
We actually are all remote at the moment, but we just started shopping for an office and we'll be moving to an office probably in the next 90 days. And primarily just for security purposes. There's so many security requirements in the legal industry and working with these organizations, and a lot of them require on-prem office with, just to make sure that we're checking the boxes on a number of things. So the answer is we're all remote at the moment. But we are moving to an office for the primary purpose of passing the security audits that are required by large organizations.
Interesting. So do you think, will your developers have to be 5 days in the week in the office, or do you think they'll be able to have a hybrid approach?
Man, it's going to be tough to expect anyone to be 5 days a week in the office these days, right?
It seems
We're
like an unreal request where that was the norm 5+
right,
years ago.
especially from a development team, right? So no, the office, most of our sales team's going to be in 5 days a week. Most of the admin team and things like that. The development team will probably have a hybrid of.
Gotcha. Um, Now, earlier before the show, we were talking about some of your top pain points that you're having, and you were mentioning one of them is finding good developers. Expand on that and the challenges that
Right. Well, I
you're
mean,
having there.
when you know a lot of good developers in the industry, it's great. But once you kind of exhaust that pool, it starts to get a little bit harder because, one thing I think that matters is eDiscovery is a little bit of a niche industry and it requires some skills that are outside the norm. So that's, kind of the initial challenge. But then the second is, yeah, just hiring in general and kind of interviewing people and the challenges that go with that. And I was saying the biggest challenge we're seeing now is with interviewing people, everyone's resume is AI generated. And a lot of them now we're seeing are using AI during the interviews where AI is listening to the conversation and providing answers to the questions. So we're just seeing a lot of people that are answering questions and trying to determine if it's really their answer, if it's something that AI got, because it's not that difficult to go through the entire interview process relying on AI for just about everything and not really providing any of your own knowledge at all. And so
It's
we're
definitely getting more challenging sorting through. You put an ad out on LinkedIn or somewhere else, you can get 100+ resumes instantly. But to your point, you have AI generated ones. So first glance, they might look really good. And then same thing through as you're actually interviewing them. So what have you been doing to work through these challenges?
yeah. So the reality is we have to be, we always go through a couple rounds of interviews with everyone remotely like everyone would, but before the final hiring, it has to be in person for us, where we have to have someone that, if we have to fly them out, that's necessary, or if they're local, even better. But doing that in-person interview is just so valuable because, it's a pretty significant investment for a company to bring somebody on board, and we want to make sure we're bringing the right people. So that's one of the changes we made almost directly in response to people using AI in interviews.
Gotcha. So now you just have to be worried if they have the meta glasses on that.
I mean, leave it all at the door, empty your pockets. Yeah, there's just it's a new problem, and I'm sure that there's going to be a new solution for that soon. But, yeah, for now, we just fly them in for a day, get an interview if we need to, and
Awesome. Now, you were talking about another pain point of being nimble as you grow. Expand on that if you would.
as you have a bigger team, there's more different challenges. I feel like as we grow, the biggest thing has been just the administrative tasks continue to increase. The number of things that are related to, and again, in our industry, there's so much security related issues where everything has to be buttoned up. We spend more time doing security audits than we do developing software. And
Oh,
a lot
wow.
of that just is we have to have a lot of checks in place, a lot of, I mean, it started with background checks, but now it's making sure that everyone goes through security trainings and checking a lot of boxes that's required for SOC 2 compliance. And yeah, frankly, it turns into the amount of people that are focused on administrative tasks just continues to grow, and the cost of those people and the cost of spending time and money on administrative tasks just seems to get out of control.
So, this isn't your first venture. You've been in this industry for a while on both sides of the fence, both as an attorney and as having your own company. What's a brutal lesson you wish you would have learned earlier?
I mean, I think the biggest lesson I could learn, and I mean, I don't want to shill your book for you, but that the idea of
It's
learning
all
from
good.
the mistakes and really failure. I feel like one of the biggest differentiators in any business is just learning through failure, trying things, taking chances, being out there and learning from them. Because the reality is there's going to always be a number of failures. To think otherwise is kind of foolish. The most is learn from them and don't get too turned down, don't get too distracted or turned down by a failure. It's a part of the process is really what it is.
I actually had a lot of hesitation about my book and how I was going to write it. And I'm like, do I really want to say I've had 20 business failures? And one of my buddies is a retired Major League Baseball player. He has 3 World Series rings. And he's like, Taplin, what the hell's wrong with you? If you were in baseball, you'd have a 333 batting average. You'd be in the
Right.
Hall of Fame. He's like, suck it up. And man, I wish there was a better way to learn than failure. When you win, when you have company wins, you often ignore a lot of the things that led to that. But when you fail and you have the ability to shake it off and really study it, that is the best learning experience out there.
Right. And I wish you could learn without failing sometimes. No, that piece is big. And I think that one of the things that I look back over my career, and I remember I went to Japan to work for a couple of weeks. And I just learned a lot about the culture there. And I talked to a lot of people there. And we kind of were casually talking about, some of the businesses I've run and how, failing is sometimes part of the process. And they were really just sort of shocked because in their culture, failing is not accepted. And they just really pointed out the fact that wouldn't be okay. And that, it's seen as being, failing at something is judged significantly differently than it is in our culture. And I felt like that would make things a lot more difficult, where I really do feel like it's absolutely part of the process. It's not something to get held up by, and it's part of growing.
So has the legal industry, how do they view tech and AI, and are they embracing it? Are they scared of it? What's, specific to the legal industry, what's the sentiment there?
I mean, all of the above, right? Lawyers are very conservative. They are very resistant to change, but their clients aren't. Their clients want to use technology. Their clients want to see cost savings. There's always the talk of, faster, better, cheaper, and you can pick 2 of the 3. This is one of those changes that you can have all 3. It can be better, faster, and cheaper. A lot of the corporate clients that are using us are seeing that and are really forcing and pushing down to make sure that the law firms and the lawyers understand that they need to be adopting these technologies. They need to be learning about how to use them properly. They need to be able to use them defensively, because at the end of the day that they want to save time, money, and have a better output. And they realize that this is a good way to do that.
So they're coming around not because they want to, because their clients are forcing it.
I mean, I feel like if it was up to lawyers, we'd all be dealing with paper still. Like, some of them are just, they really, they like the way their way of doing things, and then are really just, it's a career that is resistant to change by default, because they are very adverse to risk, and most of the time change comes with some form of risk.
Do you believe that with the advancements of AI and where it's going to continue to go over the next 5 or 10 years, how do you think that's going to change the lawyer landscape? Do you think there's going to be a need for less? Do you think the roles will shift? What's your crystal ball say there?
I think that the entire world is going to be facing change that is bigger than anyone could have expected. I think that every industry is going to be impacted. You're going to see, I mean, like I said, there's 40-some thousand lawyers that do doc review today. There's more lawyers that are doing other jobs that could be replaced or improved with automations and AI. So I will say that I think that it's universal to the entire world. And you're going to see a lot more changes and a lot more disruption to every industry. And the legal industry is just going to be another one that gets a huge impact.
Now, so you say the stat, 40,000 lawyers today doing doc review. Now, are those usually the junior attorneys?
That's where I started. A lot of people out of law school, they're looking for something, looking for their full-time role, and using that as kind of a stopgap to fill time while they're looking around. And yeah, there are a number of people that are doing it for flexibility or late in their career, and maybe they're different reasons, but a majority of them are the younger associates that are still learning.
Gotcha. When you look, as we're about to end 2025, 2 years ago, Spot Twitter fired 80% of the company, said with AI, we don't need them. Berg was boldly saying that he believes with AI, he'll be able to reduce his engineering team by 60%. And now fast forward from my vantage point, the software engineering industry over the past 6 months now have really learned what AI can and can't do, where the efficiencies are, and what's realistic. And I am not being in the legal industry. When I think of transactional attorneys and certainly eDiscovery, how that might shift the landscape in the software space, most of the guests I have are of the mindset that they're seeing 10 to 20% efficiency gains. So much people are experimenting with stuff that it's taking time to figure it out. What's your take on this?
I mean, what I see across everything, there's just becoming fewer and fewer things that humans can do better than computers. And a lot of what we're seeing now, is the difference between going from a horse and buggy to a car, where it's improving things, where this is really replacing a lot of the human judgment needed for a lot of roles. And we're seeing it, from self-driving cars to AI that can answer phone calls and provide, any job that requires a voice can now is kind of at risk. I feel like the impacts of this are going to be significantly different than the impacts of any other technology increase we've had in the past. And I just feel like we're going to be at a situation where the number of people necessary to do work is not going to be as many as the number of people that are available to do work. And I always say that there's kind of two paths that we could go down. And one is that we're all like in the movie Wall-E, where we all get to sit and drink slushies and watch TV all day. And the other option is a little bit more like the Hunger Games. So that's my very dramatic take on where I feel like some of these things are going, is just the shift that the world is going to go through as a result of this, where you see now where you drive through the Wendy's drive through and the person taking your order is AI, and you call someone and the person answering the phones is AI. And there's just a lot of jobs that are no longer necessary to be run by people. And that's going to make a huge change to everything.
So most large research organizations like MIT and others are doing quarterly reports on the success of generative AI pilots with enterprises, and most are showing that 95% are showing negative or no ROI. Why do you think that is?
I think that a lot of people are trying to force it into things where it doesn't fit, or they're trying to use it because they have to, and they're kind of, we have to come up with a way. Where one of the things that I feel like really differentiates us as a software company from a lot of competitors in the space is that we aren't just a software solution where we can't, we're just coming out and releasing technology, but we are people that have been in the industry for a very long time and are releasing specific things that are built to solve existing problems that didn't have solutions before. So when I go around a conference and I see similar companies like ours that are building software that are MIT grads or, some Silicon Valley tech people, they're not building tools that are solving a unique problem. Sometimes I see it and I'm like, as a tech nerd, that is super cool. And that technology is amazing and mind blowing, but it doesn't solve a problem that we have. It's something that looks cool. And I think that there is a big balance between using AI and any technology to solve immediate problems that are very direct, that we can see a really good ROI on, and just building cool things that the technology can do that may be already done by something else. And so that's where I feel like focusing on solving existing problems versus focusing on building good technology is something that a lot of companies struggle to do it. And frankly, it's something that keeps us kind of in our lane, because as I go outside of eDiscovery, as we kind of creep into other industries, you start to lose some of that understanding of what problems need to be solved. Because frankly, I find it very difficult to build really effective quality solutions in an industry that I'm not really familiar with. And I think that some of that is coming from people just building cool stuff and not necessarily fitting in right.
Well, you're definitely a rare breed, Jim, being both having the legal and the technology background. Sounds like you found the right niche here. And I could definitely see your ability to poke holes in other people's solutions to your industry that don't have your background. That gives you a great competitive edge.
I'll be honest, when I got out of law school, I did not know what eDiscovery was. And when I applied for that first job, I was not expecting to even want to do that job. And when I learned more and more about it, I just was hooked. It's a really good combination of a tech and legal skills that, there's just not a lot of places for that combination.
Well, Jim, thank you for getting uncensored with us today. Once again, your unique background of the legal and the tech background It sounds like with eDiscovery AI, you guys are kicking butt and taking names and changing the industry. Thank you for sharing your story. What's your no BS advice for today's tech leaders out there who are trying to build, scale, or even just survive in these interesting times?
I'll say that I think the thing that makes this work really well is just that we're always having fun. That it's about having fun. It's about coming up with cool stuff. It's about being excited by what you build. I mean, the number of times I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning with an idea that is not going to go away until I get up and I test it. It continues through the years of doing this. So that piece of find a way to make it fun, find a way to have a good time, find a way to really be energized by what you're doing. Most likely not going to be just a financial incentive. It's going to have to be something that you truly enjoy. So it's not easy to just say like what you do, because sometimes you got a job that's not enjoyable, but that I think is what makes all the difference.
Well, I think that's why we're both entrepreneurs, Jim, is because that's what drives us, is finding those unique challenges and having fun doing it. I don't know how to do something better than everyone else if I don't love it. So thank you so much for sharing your story, your advice, Jim. That's it for this episode of Software Leaders Uncensored. I'm Steve Taplin. If you enjoyed the show, go ahead and hit subscribe. If you didn't enjoy it, well, we'll just send it to your competitors. Might be the edge they're looking for. Remember to fail hard, win big, and always build what matters. See you next time. That's a wrap. Another great episode of Software Leaders Uncensored. Thank you guys so much for listening. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun doing this show. I love talking with great tech leaders. As a side note, if you're interested, check out my new book, Fail Hard, Win Big. This is the story of how I built 30 companies, failed on 20, and turned 10 into multi-million-dollar wins. The common thread with all of them was custom software. Also, if you need software development help out there, my company, Sonatify Technology, we deliver world-class software development engineers out of Latin America. We have a solid track record of helping companies launch better products and faster. Thanks again for listening. Appreciate it and appreciate you.